Welcome, brave souls. I am your guide into the realm of the unknown. Here, among these ancient tombstones and whispering trees, we uncover the most intriguing and terrifying stories that will send shivers down your spine. Encounter the supernatural in real life. Each story will transport you to a world where fear reigns and the line between the living and the dead blurs. Are you ready to face your fears? Let the stories begin. In the small insular town of Ashwood, rumors of occult activities had circulated for decades. Tucked away in the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest, Ashwood was a place where secrets thrived in the shadows of towering pines and mist-covered valleys. For Detective Sam Harris and his partner, Detective Lisa Morgan, Ashwood was a puzzle that had haunted them for years. Countless disappearances, whispers of dark rituals, and a series of unsolved cases had left a trail of mystery that seemed impossible to unravel. But Sam and Lisa were determined, and they had vowed to bring light to the darkness that plagued the town. The victims were chosen with meticulous care. They were drifters, people who wouldn't be missed. The criteria were simple. No family, no ties, no one to come looking. The occultists, known as the Children of Vadril, believed that their sacrifices would appease Vadril, an ancient god of chaos and destruction. Each victim was marked with a sigil, a combination of arcane symbols that signified their fate. The sigil was a beacon, drawing the victim inexorably toward their doom. The Children of Vadril operated with chilling precision. They abducted their victims in the dead of night, using a combination of chloroform and dark rituals to ensure compliance. The chosen were taken to an old, abandoned church deep in the woods. The church, once a place of worship, had been desecrated and transformed into a temple of horror. Its walls were lined with cryptic symbols, and the air was thick with the scent of decay and blood. The sacrifices were brutal, bloody affairs. The victims were bound to a stone altar, their limbs secured with iron chains. The leader of the cult, a man known only as Alaric, would recite incantations in a guttural ancient language. As the chanting reached a fever pitch, the other cult members would join in, their voices merging into a cacophony of madness. The sacrificial blade, an ornate dagger imbued with dark power, was plunged into the victim's chest with savage force. Blood would gush forth, staining the altar and pooling on the floor. The life force of the victim was believed to feed Vadril, granting the cult members power and protection. As the victim's life ebbed away, the cultists would enter a trance-like state, their eyes rolling back in their heads as they communed with their dark god. Strange and terrifying phenomena often accompanied the sacrifices. The air would grow cold, and an unnatural darkness would envelop the church. Whispered voices, unintelligible but filled with malice, would echo through the halls. Shadows moved of their own accord, flickering and dancing as if alive. On several occasions, the very ground seemed to tremble, as if Vadril himself was stirring from his ancient slumber. One particularly chilling event occurred during a sacrifice on the winter solstice. As the blade descended, the candles in the church flickered and went out, plunging the room into pitch darkness. A deep, guttural growl reverberated through the air, and a pair of glowing red eyes appeared in the darkness. The cult members, though terrified, continued their ritual, believing it was a sign of Vadril's favor. Sam and Lisa had been investigating the disappearances for over a decade. They had interviewed countless witnesses, followed countless leads, but always seemed to hit a dead end. The town of Ashwood was tight-lipped, and fear of the cult ran deep. Those who knew something were too afraid to speak, and those who didn't were blissfully ignorant. One night they received a tip from a local drifter who claimed to have seen something strange in the woods. The tip led them to the old church, and as they approached they felt a sense of foreboding. The air was thick with tension, and the forest seemed to close in around them. They pushed forward, determined to uncover the truth. Inside the church, they found evidence of the cult's activities, blood-stained altars, cryptic symbols, and remnants of the dark rituals. But before they could gather more evidence, they were ambushed by the cult members. A struggle ensued, and in the chaos, Lisa was taken. Sam was left battered and bleeding, but alive. Lisa was dragged to the altar, her hands bound and her mouth gagged. She struggled fiercely, but the cult members were too strong. Alaric approached, his eyes gleaming with malevolent intent. He began to chant, and the room seemed to darken. The other cult members joined in, their voices rising in a terrifying crescendo. Sam, despite his injuries, followed the cult members to their hideout. He knew he had to save Lisa, but the odds were against him. As he approached the church, he felt a sense of dread. The air was thick with the scent of blood, and the sound of chanting filled his ears. He knew he was running out of time. Inside the church, Lisa was placed on the altar. Alaric raised the sacrificial blade, his eyes filled with fanatical fervor. But before he could strike, Sam burst into the room. A fierce battle ensued, and Sam fought with all his strength. He managed to free Lisa, and together they fought off the cult members. As they fled the church, the ground began to shake, and a dark, malevolent presence filled the air. They barely escaped with their lives, and as they looked back, they saw the church collapse in on itself, consumed by darkness. The cult had been defeated, but the presence of Vadril lingered, a reminder of the darkness that still lurked in the shadows of Ashwood. Sam and Lisa's ordeal had come to an end, but the scars remained. They had uncovered the truth behind the disappearances, but the cost had been high. They knew that the fight against darkness was never truly over, and that there would always be those who sought to bring chaos and destruction. But they also knew that they would face it together, determined to bring light to the darkest corners of the world. As they returned to their precinct, the weight of the experience bore heavily on them. They were hailed as heroes for breaking the case, but the horrors they had witnessed left an indelible mark. The nights were filled with nightmares of blood and chanting, and the feeling of eyes watching them from the shadows never quite went away. Determined to ensure that no other town would suffer the same fate as Ashwood, Sam and Lisa delved deeper into the lore of Vadril. They discovered that the children of Vadril were just one cell of a much larger network spread across the country, each cell dedicated to spreading chaos and darkness. Their newfound mission became clear: to hunt down and dismantle every last one of these cells. Their journey took them to remote villages and sprawling cities where they faced new horrors and new enemies. Each encounter brought them closer to understanding the full scope of the cult's reach and the ancient power they sought to unleash. Along the way, they found allies, other survivors of the cult's wrath, and those who had dedicated their lives to fighting the darkness. Through it all, Sam and Lisa's bond grew stronger. They became more than partners. They became each other's lifeline in the face of unspeakable evil. They learned to rely on each other's strengths and to support each other's weaknesses. And in their relentless pursuit of justice, they found a purpose that transcended their own survival. Years passed, and their once quiet lives as detectives were forever changed. They had become warriors against the darkness, guardians of a world that teetered on the edge of chaos. The memories of Ashwood haunted them, but they used those memories as fuel to keep fighting, to keep pushing forward. In the end, Sam and Lisa knew that their battle against the children of Vadril and the dark god they worshipped would never truly end. But they also knew that as long as they stood together, they could face whatever horrors awaited them. And so, with unwavering determination and a resolve forged in the fires of their past, they continued their quest, lighting the way for others who dared to stand against the darkness. From this creepy story, we will move on to another equally creepy story. In the heart of the redwood forest stood St. Agatha's Church. A once majestic structure now shrouded in decay and mystery. Built in the late 1800s, it had been a place where the devout gathered, but its glory days were long gone. Now it was a haunted relic, known for the strange and paranormal occurrences that plagued anyone who dared to enter. The haunting began with the tragic tale of Elizabeth Hawthorne, a local beauty known for her kind heart and gentle spirit. She was set to marry Thomas Ridley, a charismatic and loving man who had captured her heart. Their union was to be blessed by Father Malachi, a stern yet respected priest of St. Agatha's. However, unbeknownst to the townsfolk, Father Malachi harbored a dark obsession with Elizabeth. Consumed by jealousy and rage, he devised a sinister plan to claim her for himself. On the eve of the wedding, Father Malachi lured Thomas to the church under the guise of a premarital blessing. In the dim light of the sanctuary, Malachi struck Thomas down, his body falling lifelessly at the altar, where he was to exchange vows with Elizabeth. Malachi hid the body in the church's crypt, believing his crime would go unnoticed. The next day, as Elizabeth waited in her wedding dress, news of Thomas's disappearance spread like wildfire. Heartbroken and distraught, Elizabeth searched for him tirelessly, her once joyful spirit now a mere shadow of despair. One stormy night, she entered St. Agatha's, driven by a haunting intuition. As she wandered the dark corridors, she found herself at the crypt. There, she discovered Thomas's lifeless body, his face twisted in agony. Grief-stricken and overcome with rage, Elizabeth cursed the church and its priest. She swore vengeance before taking her own life, collapsing beside Thomas's corpse in her wedding dress, the white fabric stained with her blood. Years passed, and the tale of Elizabeth and Thomas faded into local folklore. St. Agatha's was abandoned, its doors closed, and its windows boarded up. But the curse laid by Elizabeth Hawthorne lingered, waiting to exact its revenge. The first sign of the curse reawakening came with the disappearance of a local teenager, James Whittaker, who had dared to explore the church on a dare. His friends reported hearing whispers and seeing a woman in a white dress before they fled in terror, leaving James behind. He was never seen again. Soon after, others who ventured near the church reported strange phenomena. They spoke of cold spots, eerie whispers, and the chilling sight of a woman in a wedding dress roaming the grounds. Those who escaped were not unscathed. They were plagued by nightmares and gradually lost their sanity, raving about a vengeful bride and a murderous priest. Intrigued by the stories and driven by a desire to uncover the truth, a group of paranormal investigators decided to explore St. Agatha's. Led by Dr. Emily Carter, a renowned parapsychologist, the team included her assistant, Mark, a tech specialist named Lisa, and a local historian, John. They arrived in the church just as the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the dilapidated building. As they approached, the air grew colder, and an uneasy feeling settled over them. "Let's set up the equipment," Emily instructed, her voice steady despite the growing tension. Mark and Lisa unpacked their gear, setting up cameras and motion sensors around the perimeter and inside the church. John, meanwhile, began to recount the history of St. Agatha's and the tragic tale of Elizabeth and Thomas. As night fell, the team gathered in the main sanctuary, their flashlights casting eerie beams of light on the decaying pews and altar. Emily began the investigation with an EVP, electronic voice phenomenon session, asking questions into the darkness. "Is there anyone here with us?" she called out, her voice echoing through the silent hall. A few moments later, a chilling whisper filled the air. "Leave this place." Lisa's eyes widened as she checked the audio recorder. "We got something," she whispered, her voice trembling. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the crypt below, followed by a chilling wail. The team exchanged nervous glances before making their way down the narrow staircase, their flashlights flickering as if struggling against an unseen force. The crypt was damp and cold, the air thick with the scent of decay. As they moved deeper, they found an old wooden door slightly ajar. Inside, they discovered a gruesome scene. Skeletal remains, scattered and broken, and the faint outline of a white dress stained with blood. "This must be where Thomas's body was hidden," John whispered, his voice barely audible. Emily felt a cold hand grip her shoulder, and she turned to see a ghostly figure, its eyes hollow and filled with sorrow. "Elizabeth," she gasped. The apparition's lips moved, but no sound came out. Instead, a vision flooded Emily's mind. She saw Father Malachi, his face twisted with malice as he struck Thomas down. She felt Elizabeth's heart break and her desperate need for vengeance. Suddenly, the vision shifted, showing Father Malachi standing before the altar, reciting dark incantations. He wasn't just a jealous priest, he was a practitioner of dark magic, and his soul was bound to the church, ensuring his secrets would remain hidden. As the vision faded, Emily realized the true nature of the curse. Elizabeth's spirit was trapped, unable to find peace, until Malachi's dark magic was undone. But breaking the curse would not be easy. They needed to find Malachi's grimoire, hidden somewhere within the church, and destroy it. The team split up to search the church, each step filled with dread. Mark found a hidden compartment in the altar, revealing an old, leather-bound book covered in cryptic symbols. Just as he reached for it, a cold wind swept through the room, and Malachi's ghostly form appeared. "You cannot stop me," he hissed, his eyes glowing with an unholy light. Lisa screamed as Malachi advanced, but John, armed with a crucifix, stepped forward. "You have no power here," he declared, his voice strong. The crucifix seemed to weaken Malachi, giving Mark enough time to grab the grimoire. "We have to burn it," Emily shouted. With Malachi weakened, the team rushed to the churchyard. They gathered firewood and placed the grimoire in the center. As they lit the fire, Malachi's spirit roared in fury, his form distorting in the flickering flames. "You cannot destroy me," he bellowed, but the fire grew stronger, fueled by the ancient book. As the grimoire burned, Elizabeth's spirit appeared, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice soft and serene. Malachi's form disintegrated, his screams echoing into the night. The air grew still, and a sense of peace settled over the church. Elizabeth's spirit faded, finally free to join Thomas in the afterlife. St. Agatha's church was never the same. The curse was lifted, and the paranormal activity ceased. Those who had gone mad began to recover, their minds no longer haunted by the vengeful bride and the dark priest. Emily and her team left the forest, their mission complete. They published their findings, sharing the truth of what had happened at St. Agatha's. The story of Elizabeth Hawthorne and Thomas Ridley became a legend, a tale of love, betrayal, and redemption that would be remembered for generations. The church remained abandoned, a silent testament to the horrors that had once taken place within its walls. But those who knew the story understood that it was not just a place of tragedy, but also of hope and forgiveness. And in the stillness of the redwood forest, St. Agatha's Church stood as a reminder that even the darkest curses could be broken, and even the most restless spirits could find peace. Elizabeth's spirit was an ethereal presence, bound to St. Agatha's Church by her unfulfilled vow of vengeance. Clad in her tattered wedding dress, her apparition appeared as a tragic bride, her face pale and eyes hollow. The dress, once a symbol of joy and hope, now bore the stains of blood and betrayal, a stark reminder of the horrors she had endured. Her ghostly form was often seen gliding through the corridors of the church, her movements silent and sorrowful. Witnesses reported a sense of overwhelming sadness and cold whenever she appeared. Her presence was marked by whispers of sorrow and a chilling wail that echoed through the night, a mournful cry for her lost love and unavenged death. Despite her tragic fate, Elizabeth's spirit was not malevolent. She sought justice, not harm. Those who encountered her felt her anguish and her desperate plea for help. She was a guardian of the church's dark secrets, her spirit intertwined with the fate of St. Agatha's until her curse could be lifted. Dr. Emily Carter was a dedicated parapsychologist with a passion for uncovering the truth behind paranormal phenomena. Her expertise and calm demeanor made her a respected figure in her field. Emily's fascination with the supernatural began in her childhood, sparked by her own unexplained experiences. Her commitment to understanding the unknown drove her to lead numerous investigations, but St. Agatha's Church was unlike any other case she had encountered. Emily was meticulous in her approach, using scientific methods to document and analyze paranormal activity. Her empathy and compassion allowed her to connect with the spirits she encountered, seeking not just to understand them, but to help them find peace. Her encounter with Elizabeth's spirit was a turning point in her career, revealing the depth of the tragedy that bound the ghost to the church. Mark was Emily's trusted assistant, a young man with a keen interest in the technical aspects of paranormal investigation. He handled the equipment with expertise, ensuring that every anomaly was recorded and analyzed. Mark's logical mindset often balanced Emily's intuitive approach, providing a grounded perspective in the midst of their eerie investigations. Despite his initial skepticism, Mark's experiences at St. Agatha's Church challenged his beliefs. The sight of Elizabeth's ghost and the encounter with Malachi's malevolent spirit left an indelible mark on him. Mark's bravery and quick thinking were crucial in uncovering Malachi's grimoire, and his bond with the team grew stronger through their shared ordeal. Lisa, the tech specialist, was the backbone of the team's operations. Her knowledge of advanced surveillance and recording equipment allowed the team to capture even the faintest of paranormal activities. Lisa's analytical skills and attention to detail were unmatched, making her an invaluable asset in their investigations. Her encounter with Malachi's ghost was a harrowing experience that tested her resolve. Lisa's initial fear turned into determination as she realized the importance of their mission. Her expertise in analyzing the recorded data helped uncover crucial details about the curse, and her unwavering support for the team was instrumental in their success. John, the local historian, brought a wealth of knowledge about St. Agatha's Church and its dark past. His deep understanding of the town's history and the church's significance provided valuable context for the investigation. John's research into Father Malachi's life and Elizabeth's tragic story revealed the hidden layers of the church's haunting. John's encounter with the supernatural was a revelation that challenged his academic perspective. The sight of Elizabeth's ghost and the discovery of Malachi's dark practices transformed his understanding of history and the supernatural. John's bravery in confronting Malachi's spirit with the crucifix was a pivotal moment that helped weaken the priest's malevolent hold on the church. As Emily and her team departed St. Agatha's Church, the weight of their experience lingered with them. The haunting had revealed not just the tragic story of Elizabeth and Thomas, but also the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable darkness. Their journey into the heart of the paranormal had strengthened their bonds and deepened their commitment to uncovering the truth. The legend of St. Agatha's Church continued to captivate the imagination of those who heard it. The story of love, betrayal, and redemption became a timeless reminder that even in the darkest of places, there could be light and hope. The church, once a place of horror, stood as a testament to the power of forgiveness and the enduring strength of the human spirit. In the stillness of the redwood forest, St. Agatha's Church remained a silent guardian of its secrets, a place where the past and present intertwined, and where the echoes of history whispered through the trees. And for those who believed in the unseen, it was a place where the line between the living and the dead was thin, and where the spirit of Elizabeth Hawthorne, the tragic bride, finally found her peace. So, brave souls, our journey in the shadows is coming to an end for tonight. We hope that these stories have stirred your imagination and given you goosebumps. Remember, the world is full of secrets waiting to be discovered, and the line between reality and the supernatural is thinner than you might think. If you enjoyed today's stories and want to hear more creepy and unexplained, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you will be the first to know about new stories of horror and intrigue. Click on the bell icon so you don't miss a single creepy story. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and remember, some doors are better left unopened.